Hola, it's Joe Pardavila, and you've got the Forbes Books podcast, and it's hard to believe that we are already in the dog days of summer. Hopefully, you've had the chance to go for a swim at your nearest pool, lake, or beach, but something to keep in mind is July 25th, which is World Drowning Prevention Day. And this week on the pod, I am joined by Eric Lupton, the president of Lifesaver Pool Fence Systems, a family-owned and operated company based in Florida that is literally saving lives, not just in the States, but around the world, and is one of the few pool fence companies recognized by the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission's Pool Safety Campaign. Eric, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. And the reason I have you on is, like I mentioned, World Drowning Prevention Day is July 25th. And you always hear these nightmare stories every summer, Eric, about kids drowning. It's a story that comes up just every once in a while, but it's something that we all should be cognizant of, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Most people don't realize that drowning is actually the number one cause of death for kids between the ages of 1 and 4 years old. The media doesn't talk about it, so thanks for bringing attention to it. And despite it being such a deadly killer of children, just most people don't realize.
And why do you think people don't hire people like you to put up these fencing? Is it because of a cosmetic thing where people are like, oh, I don't want to, I spent, $100,000 on a pool. Now I don't want to put a fence around it. Why do you think people are so slow to respond to preventing a tragedy like that happening?
I think it's a combination of things. You've got the cosmetic for sure, but I also think there's some hubris at play. A lot of people say, I watch my kids. I'm always paying attention to them. There's no way that they can get out of my sight. And honestly, the people who say they watch their kids 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, those are the ones that concern me the most, because that's impossible. No one can watch their kids every second of every day. You've got to sleep, you've got to shower, you got to use the restroom. You might have another kid who has an emergency. I think most people think they can just watch their kids and they won't have a problem. Also, I think a lot of people have a misconception about what drowning looks like. They don't realize that drowning is silent and quick. They think they'll hear their kids splashing or yelling for help, which just isn't the case. And then the cosmetic, like you said, people spend a lot of money on their backyard oases, and they think that the pool fence is going to detract from that.
I found a stat that I think you posted on your website about an unprotected pool is over 100 times more dangerous to your child than a loaded gun. And we hear about gun safety all the time. You just don't hear anything about pool safety.
Yeah, Freakonomics did a study a number of years ago, and they looked at the number of fatalities that happen in homes with firearms versus the number of fatalities that happen in homes with pools and kids. And yeah, they came to the conclusion that you are far safer sending your kid to a home where the person owns a firearm and maybe even leaves it out than sending your kid to a neighbor who has a pool in their backyard that's unprotected.
Wow. And so I like to ask every entrepreneur, because I'm nosy, why did pool fences become your thing, Eric? Was this a calling, or was this family business? How did it happen for you?
Yeah, my parents started the business in 1987 in their garage. So, my parents started it together. My mom would stay up all night and sew the mesh that is used for the pool fence construction. And then my dad would get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. He had a paper route. And then whatever money he made from the paper route, that was his marketing budget. And then, when the sun came up and, 6, 7 a.m., my mom would get me, who I have cerebral palsy, so, a child with a disability, and my even younger brother up and ready and, kind of take care of us during the day while running the office. And then my dad would go try and sell pool fence, and if he sold one, he'd come back and make it. And so it was a whole family business starting in the garage. Eventually they got a little warehouse and then a little bigger warehouse and started setting up dealers. And I started working here in the summer during high school. And then I dropped out of high school when I was in my junior year, and I started coming in full time. And then I took it over completely at 21 years old. My parents retired, and I took it over. And since then we've grown from just like I said, a small little warehouse business. We're 10 times the size we were when I took it over. Just a very different looking business. But yeah, so it's kind of always been a part of our family, and child safety has kind of always been in the blood. My brother still works here, and also like I said, I have cerebral palsy. The symptoms of cerebral palsy are real similar to that of a non-fatal drowning victim. So I feel like there might be some additional connection there that I'm kind of experiencing what these other folks go through.
Wow.
But yeah, between the disability and the family connection are those two things.
Wow. And in full transparency, you're the first CEO entrepreneur that I've spoken to that has a severe disability. What is that like? What is it like running a company, 10Xing it to where you are now? I mean, it doesn't sound like it's a deterrent for you, Eric.
I think, honestly, that entrepreneurship and business ownership is the best thing that somebody with a disability can do. Because entrepreneurs in general have to custom tailor their environment to make it work for them. And that's the same thing if you have a disability. I get to make my workplace the exact right fit for what I need to be successful. I get to pick what schedule I need. I get to pick the kind of people I need around me. I need to, adapt the facility and the office and the warehouse to work for me. So I think honestly that disability lends itself to entrepreneurship and vice versa. Also, if you're like me and you need help with things, I have people that come in the morning to help me, get out of bed and all those things. People with disabilities are used to having staff, of having employees that help them. And I think it's just one more step to, instead of having people that only do things like help you with your day-to-day tasks, why not start hiring people that'll help you make money too? So I think, every person with a disability who has people helping them is already a CEO, and they just need to, take the final step to getting those people, helping them turn a profit.
And you're very open and transparent about it. I mean, you mentioned it before I even had a chance to, and you write a blog about it called The Crippled CEO. Why is it important for you to talk about it publicly? Because, there are some that would prefer to keep things private like this. The fact that you run a company, some people could have the attitudes like it's nobody's business what the owner of the Lifesaver pool fence system does or looks like. Why was it important for you to be so open about it?
Well, like you said, I'm the first person you've talked to who's been a CEO and had a disability. So I think at the moment it's kind of rare. But like I said, I think there's lots of people with disabilities sitting at home right now who, because they can't get and keep a regular job, because the regular job just isn't the right fit for their, not just their skill set, but their ability set, that they think they can't work. And the reality is they can work. They just need to, start their own business and go the entrepreneurship route, which for anybody is daunting. But I think, there's a whole universe of employment out there for people with disabilities that's being untapped. And hopefully, if I can shine some small light on that, then maybe more people can get that message, and we can have more people with a various spectrum of abilities out in the workplace, not relying on governments or subsidies or their parents, who can be independent and own their own homes and kind of living on their own.
That's inspiring stuff. And you were born this way, as Lady Gaga sang. Yeah. Do you think about like, hey, if I didn't have this disability, would I be able to do X or Y? I mean, it doesn't seem like you're prevented from doing anything. Obviously, you can run a company successfully, but do you ever think about like, oh, I would be able to do this if I wasn't battling with this disability?
Yeah, of course, absolutely, every day. There's a whole gang of issues that I'm restricted from and that I wish I could do. Right, I'm never gonna skydive or mountain climb or do parkour or play guitar, things like that might be fun to do. But on the flip side, I know that there's a ton of things that I can do that I might not have been able to without the disability. I think my problem solving skills are a lot higher than your average bear. I think some areas in patience and perseverance and those kinds of things have been kind of honed through the fire of the daily living with a disability.
Yeah, when you describe that, I immediately thought of the comic book superhero Daredevil, who's the famously blind one, but his senses are completely heightened to like superhuman levels because he's blind. Do you feel like in a way that's you as an entrepreneur? All of your senses are much higher and more developed than your average Joe who just went to school and got an MBA and started a company. That you go to a different level when it comes to being a CEO and leader.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of additional problem solving and determination and the whole thing that comes with it. So yeah, you're probably right. And it's funny you say that. I'm at the office right now, but my house is like a museum of superhero statues and whatnot. So the reference is perfect.
Awesome. I love that. So let's get back to talking about drowning prevention. You run one of the largest Facebook pages dedicated to child drowning prevention with over 15,000 active users. Talk to me about why it's taken off, why people have flocked to it, and what it provides.
Yeah, I think we're pushing 20,000 now, and wow. Also we're doing great on Instagram and Our TikTok is doing really well now, but I just don't think that there is a lot of people spotlighting this issue. And we've got lots of nonprofits who are doing a great job. The National Drowning Prevention Alliance, Live Like Jake, Respect Life Foundation. I could go on. They're doing great educational work. But on the for-profit side, there's not a lot of companies with resources that are trying to bring pool safety education to the masses. So, as a company that's done pretty well and is national and international, I think it's one of our responsibilities to try and educate people on water safety, on drowning prevention, on child safety in general. And I think we're doing a pretty decent job of that.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. And so I know you're based out of Florida. Do you strictly build pool fences in the South? You mentioned something about being national. Are you covering the country with your pool fences?
Yeah, absolutely. So we manufacture the fences down here in our factory in South Florida. I apologize if you hear any factory noises. I'm literally right in the middle of a 20,000 square foot pool fence manufacturing facility that we have down here. But we're shipping out fence to dealers throughout the country every single day. We have Lifesaver dealerships in most major cities throughout the U.S. So there's a Lifesaver of Los Angeles and New Jersey, where you're from, and Miami. So all over the country, we've got Lifesaver dealers in most major cities, and then abroad, we're also in 15 additional countries on 5 continents, and we have a DIY system that we ship literally all over the world.
Wow.
So yeah, we're everywhere.
That's amazing. And do you mind sharing a little bit about your business model? Are they franchises in other states, or do you like a B2B system where you're selling it to another business? Tell me about the model.
Yeah, so the model is they're dedicated independent dealers. They feel like franchises, but they're not. So they start up their Lifesaver pool fence business. We encourage them to use our name. So say you wanted to be the next Lifesaver pool fence of North Carolina. You would fly down to Florida. We would train you for a week. We'd put you through the paces, show you how to install it, and then you would go back and we'd continue providing additional training and get you up and running. And then we would sell to you. You would buy it from us, and then you would take your inventory, visit people's homes, educate them on the product, on water safety, get the green light from them, and then come back and install their pool fence.
Wow. And so, Eric, how did you pull this off? I mean, we talked about you 10Xing the company. Do your parents believe that you've built this from their garage into an international company? I mean, it's almost hard to believe, Eric.
I mean, they saw it, so I think they believe it. They were there to witness it. And yeah, we like I said, we had already gotten to the dealership stage when I was brought in. And yeah, we were on a steady growth path, but new life, new marketing, and also just more people being aware of the dangers of water safety. We first started, as few people that know about it now, nobody knew about drowning prevention and child safety, 20, 30 years ago. So, the world at large has kind of become more educated on water safety, which is, I'm sure, helped us quite a bit. And yeah, I think just being committed to making the highest quality stuff during the recession, when everybody else decided to make their products cheaper and more affordable, I kind of went the other way and decided that I was going to be the one that made the best, most expensive pool fence. And I think that's paid off for us in a really big way. We kind of stand apart from all of our competitors in that way. So yeah, I think just a series of correct decisions, and we tend to focus a lot more on the education and the water safety side than some of the other pool fence companies out there. And I have this saying that doing the right thing is always the right thing, and I think that's helped us a lot.
Wow, it is amazing. And you mentioned competition. There's a lot of pools in America and the world. So is there a lot of competition in this pool fence niche industry, in the pool industry?
Not a ton. There's 5 or 6 major pool fence brands that we run into here and there. Honestly, don't consider any of them really competition. We're kind of doing our own thing. And yeah, but it's not a real crowded industry. And for the most part, we all get along pretty well. So I'm glad they're out there. It's better to have other people out there promoting pool fence, knowing what pool fence is, promoting water safety. It's a lot easier to sell a pool fence in a market where people have heard of it before. So I'm happy they're out there, promoting pool fence and getting the word out.
Okay. And so, we say pool fence, but, if we try to envision it, it's really, can you describe it a little more? Because it's not like you're putting a picket fence around people's pool. What exactly is the pool fence that you guys set up for folks?
No, you're 100% correct. I often say that there's a big difference between a pool fence and a fence around a pool, like a wrought iron
Right.
fence. Right?
Yeah.
So a pool fence, what I can consider a pool fence, is a removable mesh pool safety fence. And this is a barrier specifically around the pool, so not around the yard, but just specifically around the pool to isolate the pool with the sole purpose of preventing drownings. And typically these fences are about 4 feet high. They have an aluminum pole every 3 feet, and between the aluminum poles is mesh. And that mesh is a polyvinyl nylon mesh. It's got no handholds or footholds. It's really difficult or sometimes impossible to climb. The fence usually features a self-closing, self-latching gate with a knob that's really high up, hard to reach. Again, made for child safety. So the fence is removable. It's transparent. You can see through it really easily. So unlike a wrought iron fence where you kind of would imagine like a jail cell around your pool, this is really to see through. It helps retain the look of your backyard. You can take it down for adult parties where there's not going to be children present in about 10 to 15 minutes and put it back up in the same amount of time. And yeah, these things have been being made since the 60s. They've been proven. Ours has a lifetime warranty. If you have it now, chances are your grandkids will benefit from it years from now.
Yeah, I mean, the mobility and flexibility of the fence, I think, is probably a huge selling point for you because, you joked about the fact that, building a fence around the pool. This is something that you could take up and down. Maybe when your kids become of age and they're fully trained swimmers, you can take that fence down very easily without having to damage your pool. So there's a lot to it than just the idea of like, hey, put up this pool fence. It's not a permanent fixture of the person's pool.
No, yeah, they can take it down. I recommend that people leave it up unless they're having like an adult party where it might be in the way. But when you have a pool fence up around your pool, you're not just protecting your kids; you're protecting the whole neighborhood from your pool.
Right.
So a lot of people also don't know that children with autism, if they escape the house, there's a 90% chance that they'll drown somewhere. If they die while they're outside, there's a 90% chance that they're going to die of drowning. Which sounds like a stat so high it doesn't even feel real. It's bonkers.
Wow.
So, every home that has a fence around their pool is one less place for any child, but, especially kids with autisms or other cognitive disabilities to drown in. And so, you're not just making your pool safer for your kids, but every person who puts a pool fence up makes their pool safer for the whole neighborhood.
Are you aware of the impact you have on people's lives, like for eternity? You shared the story once about a woman from Sacramento who wrote to you in 2016 about how the pool fence saved her daughter's life. Can you share that story?
Yeah, I mean, and I've gotten tons of stories like this where a child is discovered in the backyard, hands up, against the mesh, and there's a great chance that if the pool fence hadn't been there, then the child would have kept going and ended up in the pool. And that mom in Sacramento, that was her story. She was certain that had the fence not been there, when she came out, she didn't know how long her kid had been out there. She figures a few minutes. But yeah, we get tons of stories of people whose kids get out one way or another. Dog doors are a big one. If you've got a doggy door and a toddler, you need to button that thing up because we hear tons of stories of kids who get out and either are found in the backyard or if there's no barrier up, are found in the pool after getting out of the doggy door. So yeah, lots of stories of kids being found in the backyard, literally leaning on the pool fence that probably would have made it in the pool and maybe would have ended in tragedy. But beyond that, the pool fence also makes their life easier on a day-to-day basis. So, do you have any kids?
No, God, no.
You're like me, none that you know of yet. So
yeah, true.
I tell the story. I was at a Christmas Eve party, and I was at my friend's house, and they happened to have one of our pool fences right around their pool. And it was a family party. There was kids everywhere, and they were running around the pool, and all ages from 8 months to 7 years old. And what was great is we were just all sitting around eating, having a beer, and no one was jumping up every 60 seconds to stop the toddler from getting too close to the pool. We all got to hang out in the backyard, relax, enjoy ourselves. Even though everybody was watching, we weren't having to constantly get up and intervene to prevent, what probably wouldn't have been a tragedy because we were all paying attention, but the very least an annoyance of a kid falling in and the whole ordeal that goes with it. or maybe worse, right? Lots of drownings happen at parties when everyone thinks someone else is watching.
Right.
So those are actually environments where drownings happen all the time. So yeah, not only does it, prevent the tragedies and, save lives, but it also just makes your life easier because you can hang out in the backyard without having to chase after, Sally, who's hell bent on making it into the pool.
It must be cool to run a company that's not only successful, but is also like really good. Like it's good for the world. Like what you're doing, no bad can come of it. Does that give you a good feeling that you're in business to help people, and there's no like, because every business there's always a dark cloud to something when you're selling something. But man, you're doing good there.
The name of the company is Lifesaver Pool Fence, and we were talking recently that we try to employ that name Lifesaver to all areas. So we're trying to help and save the lives of the employees that work here. We do a ton to help out the staff, and we give a lot of the guys in the warehouse. There are people who, have needed second chances. So, we try to be lifesavers to the staff. We try to be lifesavers to the dealers, who come to us and want to start a business. They come from all backgrounds and they start selling pool fence, and all of a sudden their lives change, and, they can afford to do things for their family that they never could do before. And then the product itself is a lifesaver. It's literally saving people's lives, saving their time, saving their energy. So yeah, we tried to take the lifesaver idea and spread it to all the different areas of the company, and it does feel good to. I sleep a lot better at night doing this than if I was running some kind of investment firm or selling some shady product.
That's awesome.
I'm really happy with what we do.
That's so cool. So Eric, if folks want to learn more about Lifesaver Pool Fence, where would they go? Where would they find you?
Yeah, it's real simple. The website is poolfence.com. But if you Google Lifesaver Pool Fence, you'll find it's everywhere. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, TikTok, etc. But poolfence.com, the website, is probably your best bet.
Eric, thank you so much for the time. I wish you the best of luck, and keep doing what you're doing, all right?
Thanks, Joe. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. And that's it for this episode of the Forbes Books Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you take a quick second to subscribe so you automatically get new shows when they drop. Also, if you have a minute, I would love if you left us a review so more amazing entrepreneurs like yourself can discover the show. And please don't forget the golden rule and treat others as you want to be treated. Thanks for listening. Until next time, adios.